we're going to talk about one of the apps that I've been putting together. You can find this on Splunk base. It's called L.A.M.E, Log Analysis Made Easy Training. Uh, You'll find it when it's installed. It call itself L.A.M.E EDU. Principle here is I want to take these concepts I've been doing in my YouTube videos and put it down into something you can tangibly use in your environment. I do not recommend making this a production system. You can put it there, but it's just meant to be able to put on any place you can put Splunk and start learning about it. The cool part is you don't need any logs being sent because this thing has an event generator. Event generator, if you've taken Splunk training before, you'll be in the Buttercup's games environment, and they'll have all these logs coming in. They're being created from Event Gen. I hope you don't realize there is no such thing as Buttercup's games, and they are not monitoring their web traffic, and they're just using an event generator to create it. That's what we do. So all of these examples will be built off the logs that are being created behind the scenes. And if you want to turn on the event gen, you just have to come here to event gen setup. It'll actually tell you, walk you through how to do it. There's a little guidance. You want to download the event gen app, and then when you install it, you'll just follow this little click these links, and boom, your data will just start coming in, and you'll have training data to work with. It's just that simple. But let's talk about what's all in this app. It's a hodgepodge. It's a lot of collection. It will continue to change over time. The roadmap I have for what I want to do with this is vast. Sometimes my ambitions do not match the amount of time I have. But I've broken things down. If you're familiar with Splunk nomenclature, they have data admins and system admins. Those are primarily, data admins are responsible for getting data into the system, massaging it, cleaning it up. System admins keep the Splunk instances with their wheels running. Got some sections here based off, a lot of it is from feedback from the user community. They reach out to me and say, hey, can you make this kind of stuff? And so I'm covering it. Ingesting new logs on a remote system. You want to know how to put logs in. You want to get them into the network. Get logs off another machine. We'll talk about how to data ingest, the process of uploading files from a computer, monitoring them, what to do when they're standard like JSON CSV, what to do when they're non-standard, how to make a deployment server to push them out. And each of the sections, often they'll have, if they have this little icon here that indicates a link internally to Splunk, this video here, this will point to a video that I've created that will document it as well. If you like to read this this honestly is not, if you want to read the documentation, go to Splunk Docs and read them. They're going to be far more thorough, and I don't want to reinvent it. This was basically a very quick summary. If you know kind of what you're doing, this will get you right there. And if you want a video to display it, go click the video. Anyway, so we walk through and show you how to ingest logs. You want to know about apps. So this will talk about downloading apps. You can get it from Splunk base, how to find them in Splunk Enterprise, how to download non-Splunk apps, what types of Splunk apps are there, where do you put apps, do they go on the search head, the indexer, how to put them on deployment servers, how to put them on search head clusters. We got some tips and tricks such as making a customized banner appearance. If you look at this Splunk EDU, this little part here will show up on every page. I'm going to talk about self-documentation, but this is an example of how I use custom banners to allow custom documentation. And then we got dashboard documentation. You want to know about a dashboard. People want to be able to search for dashboards, find things that these dashboards already exist. When you onboard new people into your environment, if you've built a big Splunk environment, it can be overwhelming. Having these ability for people to search and find stuff and find the documentation. Don't hard write this stuff. I'm going to cover that in a little bit, but you can use Splunk to document a lot of your dashboards and let people search for dashboards using Splunk and get back metadata and other stuff that you've added as documentation for your system. We've got, I'm not going to go into every one of these configuration files, order of precedence. If you aren't aware of this, every Splunk app has a local and a default. Which one takes precedence? Those apps, you can have config files in your Etsy system, in your Etsy user, and in your Etsy apps. Which ones take precedence? How do you want to make sure that the users get what they want to see? How do you make sure you don't overwrite other people's stuff? This comp files order precedence will explain that. Here is the search this is the page is for primarily your analysts. You want them to understand what's going on about how to use different queries. Metadata fields. I put this as number one. This is something that you don't learn right off from Splunk. People learn really quick. Hey, I can write index equals star stats count by source type to list me all the source types. If you have a large Splunk instance, that's a horrible query to write. It gets the results, but it is going to be taxing on your system. Metadata fields is when Splunk ingests things, it keeps the meta information and it puts it to the side so you search through that instead of all the raw information. And so to give an example of that, let's go show some of the documentation here. I'm not going to go through every page, but I just want to give it you want to know how to get all the indexes back. Instead of running um, index equals star stats count by index, you can run this little command here. You can also, if you're on a standalone search head, go to settings, indexes. If you click these little links, it'll actually take you and write the query for you. So I can actually do this event count summarize, and boom, I get back all my indexes. I can, what if I want to get all my source types? Use this metadata command. You can copy and paste, you can hit Splunk, and it will write it, and it also puts a nice little comment down below so you know what you're doing. You run that, you can see how fast that ran. If I hit all time, it came back in seconds. Try that on a big data set using index equals star stats count by source type. I do not recommend it. It will definitely eat up some processing time on your Splunk system if you have lots of data ingested. So metadata is a real quick way to understanding what stuff is Splunk logging and how to find it real quick. I highly recommend getting familiar with that. How to do searching. This is going to talk about basics of fast verbose smart mode, basic syntax, how to manipulate time. And please, you don't want me to go through every one of these links, but there's lots and lots of valuable information. So come in and look at them. This one here, I highly recommend this help on SPL common commands. If we click that, we actually see uh, here are I took some very common commands, head, stats, eval, fields, table, rename, etc. And then I explain how to use them. I talk about the head command. Why do you use it? And then you can actually click the link and actually apply it. And then you can see stats commands. How do you get count of logs by a field? And so it's going to use common things you would use those stats commands and write them out for you. And you can click the link if you want, see it in action. If you have turned your event gen on, you'll actually have these indexes, these source types, and so you'll actually see them in practice. How to use the eval command, fields command. So we just put down all this stuff. Again, link to the video if you want to know more about that specific section, watch the video on it. Powerful tool. We talk about how to build reports, how to build lookups, KV lookups, CSV lookups. You want to know how to manipulate fields, parse them. You want to make field aliases, etc. Here you go. You want to rename fields, it'll tell you how to do it. If you're creating indexes, maybe you want to create the index through the GUI, maybe you want to create it on the back end of the CLI. This page will tell you how to do it. Data models. I'm going to cover data models again because based off the what I see people viewing on my channel, it appears data models are of high interest. I'm glad of that because data models is a cool concept. L.A.M.E creations, the whole L.A.M.E channel, the whole point was to learn how to use IT systems and learn how to search through them from a security perspective, things like that. Well, data models are a really cool concept there because I use a pfSense firewall. That's what I have at my house. But somebody might be using a Palo Alto at their network at their company, or they might be using a Cisco firewall or a Checkpoint firewall. And you know what? The fields and apps can be slightly different, but a data model allows you to say, hey, I have a firewall data model, and these are the common fields, and you give them a common name, and now you build queries against the data model, and it doesn't matter whether it's Palo Alto logs, firewall, Cisco, pfSense. They're going to contain those same similar type fields, and that's what you're searching against. And so data models allow you to be able to use them no matter what type of environment you are. L.A.M.E was using a certain tech set, but that's okay. really I want to focus on the data models that that technology fills, and then we're going to learn how to query and find the stuff using data models. Great tool. I hope you learn it. I'm going to keep pushing out the use of data models here. Dashboard creation guide, generate documentation of Splunk. Here, if we talk about the fact that wouldn't it be, instead of writing out a README file that shows all of your dashboards and what they do, wouldn't it be nice if you could use Splunk to query all your dashboards? Oh wait, Splunk has a config file that all your save searches are in. It saves an XML file for every one of your dashboards. I'm going to show how to leverage that information and then use some lookups to add some extra information, details, map it to a to maybe a MITRE model, to a NIST or some sort of security model. Put extra information in there. Say, hey, this is a training dashboard. This is a hunting dashboard. This is a system administration dashboard. And now all of a sudden your analyst can go search for dashboards and get all that information for them. And the beauty is you want to know what's in that. You want to know how it can break down the search queries in there. The sky's the limit for the kind of documentation you can start putting together. Instead of doing this by hand and writing out Word documents and stuff like that, you can let Splunk more or less document itself. And the beauty is you can use some logic and find all the new pages that haven't been documented. And so you can stay up on them and keep them going. Um, this here, search L.A.M.E YouTube. You can go out to YouTube and you can search for my videos, but I wanted to make it easy. If there's a topic that you're interested in, he keeps talking about these data models. What do we got? Put the word data models in there, and it's going to go search for my videos, and you can see that there are 5 different videos about data models. Here's the link. Click the link. It'll take you over to my take you to the YouTube channel, YouTube page. It'll take you right there. You can get a nice little description about the thing. Um, I'm going to be a little biased. The fact is, you use this tool, you don't have to worry about whether YouTube decides that my videos are more important or less important. This will bring back it's a great way of searching all of the videos that I've created. You can put other stuff. We've talked about metadata, so let's just do metadata. Put metadata in. Here's things about metadata. And then we've got training tutorials, told you how to do event gen, study questions. I'm still working on getting this formatted better, but the concept is if you're planning on taking the one of the certifications from Splunk, whether that be power user, system administration, data administration, I have taken the time to go download a bunch of the study questions, put them in here. So for example, this is for your data admin, power user. Hit question 1, it'll come back with a question, give you the multiple choice, and it says, hey, choose all that apply. If you go ahead and choose, it's got your answer right down there. If you don't remember if you don't understand why, here, a lot of these will have reference pages that you can go learn about why the answer is what it is. I want to get to the point where I have videos for each of these, because the big thing is anybody can go download, take a cram session test, but the thing is you won't truly learn the knowledge that way. It's not, I'm trying to make this better so it's not just about memorizing questions for a test. I want you to actually understand why it is the way it is and to really improve your skill set. A certification is nice, but it's really what you learn to get there that's most important. So we're trying to uh, teach you more than just the answers. Let's see, we've got display tutorials. Ever run into these? I'm just going to bring up a good example. You get the queries written out and it's all written on one line and you want it to be display easier. Can't remember the command. Oh, there it is in nice little comments. So if I hit Control Shift F, it'll now put every pipe on its own line. That's awesome. What about macros? Macros are these things in between ticks. They make the code more consistent. There's good reasons to use it, but then it becomes confusing what they actually mean. They make readability a lot harder. So, oh look, Control Shift E or Command Shift E, depending on your system. So I'm going to go Control Shift E, and boom, what does it do? It expands it. This head 100 is actually what the macro was. And you'll notice there, if we go source type equals L.A.M.E HTTP, and then this pipe stats, something's missing. And what is it? It's this. And that's because that resolves to head 100. Clearly obvious. And if those macros don't mean something to you, just go ahead and expand them. And now you can actually see what they mean. Control Shift E, they're expanded. And the beauty is you can actually open in a new search and then you can run the query without the macros there. All right, other things we've got. You want to know help about source type analytics, help out data model analytics. This is how I was talking about you can document your source types and things, examples of it in action. Source type field info. We're going to go pick the L.A.M.E con. It's going to come back and it's going to say, hey, these are the fields that are coming back from them. And here's more or less what that information means about it. I have not put analytics in there, but maybe there, for example, with connections, you see these bytes in, bytes out. We might want an analytic that says, hey, is there a big discrepancy? A lot of bytes going out, but not a lot of bytes coming in. And so we could write a query as a potential analytic. I am going to be storing those on my Git page as I continue to update and come up with analytics. That should be part of the next phase, which is the end of February at least. The new L.A.M.E will have a lot more analytics available to it. As I said, all of this is a work in progress. I have my ambitions far outweigh my ability to get things done, but we're going to continue rolling stuff out. Last thing I want to demo is I want to put now, I've given a lot of training, tutorials, documentation, kind of let's show that in process. So I have this SOC main page. This is kind of just some examples of doing some of the things we talked about. Everything I've talked about you can do based off this. Real-time network activity. I laugh. I'm a big believer that you should not run real-time searches. But this is the beauty. I run a home network. I don't have a huge amount of data coming in. I can actually run real-time searches. And I want to show something really cool. I'm going to do all my IP addresses, and let's make this get out of the way. I'm going to go, I want to see all the outgoing traffic on my network. So this is running a 1-minute window real time, and it's going to populate a really cool dashboard. All right, and so then it comes back. I can see that right now my network is talking to NA is clearly are going to be IP addresses it can't resolve. Those are going to be your non-routables, 192.168s. I saw for a minute that I was talking to the United States and the UK. I'm now not talking to the United States. Unfortunately, at this time, it doesn't appear I have a whole lot of cool traffic. You never see. Sometimes I'll have a whole bunch of countries. Oh, I'm talking to Australia right now. Who's talking to Australia? I got one, and if I scroll down, I can see, oh, there's my IP address talking to Australia, and it's talking to 1111. Interesting. I didn't know that 1111 showed up as Australia. All right, we can go see here. These are my multiple selection. Here's the United stuff going out to the US. Maybe you get another country there. What about a port that's interesting? Let's go with port 123. And I can see these IP addresses are talking to these IP addresses and the counts. And so this just keeps a nice little real life monitoring of what's going on my network. And because I don't have a massive amount of traffic, there's a reason to do everything. This is a real-time monitoring, so it keeps this thing going. It's a really cool dashboard studios trick that I've learned to be able to monitor my network. And we can get more specific here. Hey, I only want to see the 53s. It's like we're going to go outgoing. And now it breaks it down and shows it. So you got all sorts of abilities to restrict down what you want to see, things like that. And so what we've tried to do is we try to break these down is to data models. If you go in and you look at the queries, they're actually running on a data model. So this is actually running on the network traffic data model. This is running on the network sessions data model. This is using network traffic. This is doing a software data model, and this is doing authentication data models. That way, no matter what systems you're using, if you're using our event gen, you want to have you have your own data, the queries will still work. And that was the principle putting the SOC main landing page is it should work regardless of what kind of system you use. You don't it doesn't matter if you're using pfSense, you're using Cisco, you're using Snort, whatever the case, whatever your tool is, if it maps to one of the data models we're working with, you can use the very same things on your own system. I hope this is helpful. The goal is to push out patching on this all the time. We'll keep pushing new apps up to Splunk base. There is a approval process has to go with Splunk base, so I'm going to try to keep my Git repo might be um, more recent if you want to get the latest, greatest copies. Also, there are a lot more apps there. Some of those apps, I can explain them in other videos. They're not as easy to get through Splunk base because of some of the stuff they do on there. There's a lot of scripting and behind the scenes stuff that is really powerful and it makes your life easier, but it also requires more setup. And in order to keep it easy on you guys, I don't want you to have to do all the setup yourself, and that makes it more difficult to get it through the Splunk base approval process. But again, and a lot of it's they're really in beta. Beta's a beta might be generous on some of the apps that are out there. That's what they're at. I hope this is helpful. I hope that you like this. Please do me a big favor, and if you're watching my videos, give them the thumbs up. It really helps push that channel out to others so that when others are searching, they can find this stuff. I'd love it if you subscribed. Definitely watch the videos. I'm hoping and continue to give me feedback. Join my Discord channel. Send me an email. Write comments down below. I do get back to you. If you have requests, things you want to see, please let me know, and I want to put them into action. And I hope this helps you move from being a lame analyst to a Splunk ninja.